I want to talk a little bit about Lange, because then from Lange we can go to...
We never give Lange any love.
We never do. Back in 2001, Lange did something that I love. They combined their standard of style and finish with a perpetual calendar. So we got the Saxomat caliber and the Langematik Perpetual. Now you recognize the dial. You can see it's got those gorgeous alpha-style hands with a little bit of lume. Not something you'd expect on a yellow gold dress watch, but yeah, it is lumed. Easy to read, if perhaps a little bit taxing to older eyes. The part that requires no special magnification to appreciate is the reverse. Now, there is a little bit of a seal sticker on top of this, so I apologize in advance. But how many companies are doing a double precious metal micro rotor? It's actually gold.
21 karat.
Yeah, it's 21 karat gold, and then it's platinum 950. So it's a platinum and 21 karat gold micro rotor set in a 3/4 style bridge with a hand-engraved balance cock right there and a black polished swan's neck. Of course, you've got that gorgeous German silver. You know, I'm going to take that stupid sticker off for a second.
One of the other things that the watch has that I really do like is it has the zero reset mechanism.
It does.
That is patented to Lange, and which means that when you go to reset it, it sends the second hands back to zero so that you can, accurately set the time to, the exact point.
Now, the thing I love about the Saxomat caliber is that it is everything you love about Lange, including the visibility of the movement with the convenience of automatic. It's one of the few watches they make that can be, the whole Saxomat series, everything that's a Langematik, can really be appreciated as thin watches. And thin automatic watches in the Lange historic catalog are not commonplace. These are always considered to be...
You also have the big date, which is very common to the German brands, but I think that it's certainly synonymous with Lange.
Now, of course, you can see the seconds hand at 6 o'clock. This is what Brian means when he talks about zero reset. Now, you wait for that seconds hand to come into view against the silver base. You pull the crown. Not only does it stop the second, but it resets to zero for easy setting against a reference time. Now, it's important to remember that there's another feature.
I also happen, again, while looking at the watch, I am a fan that it has the sub-second hand, and they did a great job of almost hiding it in plain sight within the moon phase.
Well, there's also a little bit of juxtaposition there. That's a 122-year moon phase that needs to be adjusted every 122 years. And so you've juxtaposed the longest time interval displayed by the watch with the shortest time interval in the seconds. But I'm
sure everybody buying it, that's how they think of it.
Well, it's the poetry of subtlety. But I will say this, there's another feature along with the zero reset that you'll see in some contemporary Lange watches and also in the data graph, which is when the watch actually runs down, the movement is designed to stop the sub-seconds dial, if the watch has one, at the index at 60. So that's a little bit of Lange lore. And we'll do one last shot of that case back, because I think as far as case back shots are concerned, that's the shot of the night. They do it better than anyone.
Yeah, one of the questions that I think, collectors always ask and customers always ask is, they're made as well as the best of the best. They're made as well as a Patek Philippe or an FP Journe. They produce low quantities. They about 4,000 to 5,000 watches per year.
That's right.
It has the group behind it. It has Richemont behind it. It's got history to it. It has all the hallmarks of a brand that should just be exploding and impossible to get, and it's not.
With no entry-level models. There's nothing in there that's an $8,000 steel solid back sports watch. And maybe that's the challenge there. They don't have a lot of range. With Lange, there's not a huge range of styles, and I think a lot of people would say the Saxonias look like the 1815s, look like the Richard Langes.
Yeah, they all have a very similar look. Again, the Zeitwerk when it came out was, I think, ahead of its time, and it was beautiful. But the watches themselves, I think one of the biggest problems that they have, and we always come back to secondary market value and how a watch does pre-owned, is that the depreciation that occurs between buying one new and being able to buy one pre-owned is vast, and it's a lot bigger than what I think most collectors who want to invest that sort of money are okay with. And the question sort of comes down to, if you're going to be putting that sort of money into a Dado Perpetual or a Datograph or a Zeitwerk, and you see what they're selling for in the secondary market, the question you have to ask yourself is should you just be getting an FP Journe or a Patek at that point?
Certainly, if you're buying new, you have to take that into consideration. Like you're talking about a Dato Perpetual. If you're talking about like an 1815 Perpetual Ratchet Point, you're talking about almost a $170,000 watch. And if you can get into that watch pre-owned for under $100,000 and it's 2 years old, you're getting all of the benefits and really none of the drawbacks, which is why Lange at the moment is a great brand to get into pre-owned, unless you're talking about something that's so scarce that otherwise you wouldn't have a shot.
Like one of the Luminuses.
Yeah, like if you wanted to get into one of the Lumen models, they've only done 3 so far, or if you wanted to get into something crazy, like let's say they decided to do the steel Lange 1 again, you would probably have to be friendly with your Lange dealer to get in on the ground floor for that.
Exactly. And some of the other decisions, they'll roll out a 100-piece limited edition for the world, but but it'll be an amazing watch. And you say to yourself, like, if all the other models are slow and you come out with a watch and only a 100-piece limited edition, and you probably could have just as easily sold 250, why not just make the 250 and give more people the opportunity to get into the brand? Because that's the goal here, is that you want to get watches on wrists, because then you start as they wear it, it creates the conversation of getting another one.
Yeah, I think the challenge that Lange has is a limited range. I'm not saying all the watches look the same to me. They're beautifully distinguished, and I think they're like the high-end Nomos. A strong style with important variations, but what they really need is more of a range. I'm not saying do a sports watch. I'm not saying drop the prices. I'm saying Lange needs a Chronomet Bleu.
They need to find a Gerald Genta case hidden in the ground somewhere that they can dig out and make themselves a sport watch is what they need. But no, so moving on to PP, here we have the 5327. So this is their most, it's actually not their most current perpetual, but it is their, I would say, most updated version to an iconic perpetual. So the 5327 is the latest perpetual that's replacing the 5140. So, and the 5140, for those that don't know, replaced the 3940. So one of the biggest differences is the case size. So the watch is now 40 millimeters. So for a lot of people, this is what was missing from the collection. It was a larger perpetual, something a little bit more wearable, where it's almost a casual dress watch.
But not a full multi-grand complication.
Correct. You've got the micro rotor there. You've got the scallop case there, which is pretty much identical to the 5227, and it's the same movement actually that was in the 5140 and the 3940. So it's the caliber 240Q, which has been in production by Patek for about 35 years now. And sorry, it's 39 millimeters, not 40 millimeters.
But it's important to remember that this has always been the upscale. There have always ever been about 2 Patek Philippe automatic calibers in the catalog, and the 240 has always been the premium one. It's the one you tend to see in grand complications. Mm-hmm. It's the one you tend to see in the standalone perpetual calendars as opposed to the annual calendars.
It's the ultra thin, it's the gentleman's perpetual. It's the ultra thin perpetual.
And it's got a great tradition. It goes back to, I want to say, 1977. Last year was actually the 40th anniversary of the bass movement. And it's a grand piece because it's one of the few micro-rotor automatics that really has no winding efficiency issues. They use a 22-karat gold mass and ceramic bearings these days in the system. Still free-sprung, it's a Gyromax, and beautifully finished. The nice thing about it is, like the Saxomat, you get to see the full movement and you get the thin profile of an automatic. That's why this has always been the top-shelf automatic in Patek's catalog.
And I think that this is a watch that really hit home for a lot of people in the sense that it was needed. It's what everybody wanted for the watch to be. They wanted it to be larger. They wanted the Breguet numerals, the came out right away in rose gold, yellow gold, and white gold. It wasn't staggered. The
lovely cream lacquer
the
dial
white gold
on that.
has a beautiful sunburst blue dial. So, when people are looking for a more complicated Patek, and they don't want the 5496 and they just want something classic and iconic to the brand, the response always was, oh, but the 5140 is a little bit too small. And then the next option was the 5496, which is noticeably larger and quite different in terms of appearance. And to me, this hit that nail on the head in terms of what people wanted.
And they do a good job of paring back the visual mass of it. There's one more feature that I think really deserves to be called out, and it's the minimalism of the bezel here. Because
And to put it into perspective, the watch retails for, I want to say, around $87,000, and they sell pre-owned for probably around 60, just shy of 60, in the 60 range, depending upon which metal.
Gorgeous series.